And they, I'll call them and say, are you thinking something more like this? What do you think about, to try and get a feel for what the rules are, and we'll come up with what these sort of things may look. How is it going to die? Is it going to be a big ball of fire? Is it going to be a peaceful, expiring of a life force? So I'll really mull it over and talk to my guys, Mark and Mike, and see if they have any ideas or have come up with anything, and design how it gets shot.
That's a real fun part of our job, designing from script. We'll receive a script and it'll just be pages that'll sort of briefly describe the look of a given creature or an effect or a death. Really, the trick in the end was to give it a chamber that it could cut into and to really feed the front side of it, so that we could direct what we wanted to land on the camera side of the blade, and put a couple of chunks of spine and viscera on that side, and get the blade spinning with gore.
When we're coming up with creatures, we pretty much always start with the lore, and from there we take a lot of sort of creative liberties with the creature, and we mold it, and we also always try to think of something about the creature that's different, that'll kind of distinguish the creature as it appears in Supernatural from the version of the creature you might have seen in a movie or in a book.
Most of the indications of what these things should look like and what they must become, they come, I think, in part from Eric and Bob, sort of negotiating with reality and what they can actually get on a TV schedule.
We definitely factor in budget and time. I mean, look, the reality is, I think the team that we have in place in Vancouver can, with enough time and enough money, could accomplish anything. Most shows contract out to other places, and we don't. We have guys who work exclusively 24/7 on Supernatural, and so their head is always in the game. And so you have to be smart about what we can accomplish on our schedules and on our budgets.
Talking about the morph from Ed into Trickster, things to consider are hair, wardrobe. Is it just him changing?
It's a long process in some ways, though somewhat shortened, to bring a creature to life. Often it starts with us researching, what are these things? Because we don't necessarily know all of them right off the bat.
I guess that's a good thing, actually. Work, we get to hop on all the sites that most people would get fired for if they were caught doing it. Here, if you walk into this trailer, and we've got a number of different things up on our screens. We're on every gore site, and that's kind of where we get a lot of our inspiration from. It's good reference material.
There's a large photo morgue that's been set up in the shop of just shot after shot of pretty much anything twisted you wanted to see, from industrial accidents to diseases, and just seeing what other people's takes have been on it through the years. And then we'll kind of take it and see what we can do to give it a little tweak as well.
And we begin to develop concepts. We fool around on the computer, changing sizes of eyes, changing teeth length and this and that. It really depends on what the creature is. And then we submit it to the creator and the director and say, well, do you think this is going to work? And then you get feedback from them, and we go forward. We get Toby involved and see what he can do.
Then we have the visual effects, special effects stunt meeting, and that's where Randy, Lou, myself, and the directors and the ADs, we all sit down and we start to actually talk brass tacks.
The whole idea of the meeting is to hammer out as many details as we can, interdepartmentally, and also from the director's point of view.
This is going to be a visual effect. So how are we going to do this?
Well, we've got the digital stills of Dean. We've already started building it in the wardrobe that Diane's got, so we've already started building on him. Shots will be set up. Right now, Mike is working on building a 3D or virtual Jensen Ackles. We, in this episode, get to kill Dean by being hit by a car and dropping a desk on his head, and we like to see his face, and as much of a nice guy as Jensen is, he won't let us hit him with a car. After that, the footage gets done and the guys start doing their work, and I just sort of fine-tune and zone them in so that it fits in with the vein of the show, with the vision of the producers and the writers, and then we send it out, and hopefully everyone in the end likes it.
So he'll send us all first drafts, basically. We'll sit in the editing room, we'll cut them, the editor will cut them into the show, we'll watch them, and then we'll like poo all over them.
Bob, how did you like how all of this turned out with the maggots and that stuff? Are you happy with that?
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Eric had a baby, and so we were all thinking about how creepy babies are, and that's when we started thinking about changelings.
Changelings in traditional lore are actually babies. They're not as old as they are in the episode of Supernatural, but we couldn't have like babies exploding in fire. I mean, there's certain lines even we won't cross, so we had to make them a little older.
One invention was actually the changeling, and this is, again, it's a group process. It's a very organic process where we start with a sketch. Sometimes we hand it off to the visual effects department, in this case the changelings.
Well, they had the idea of a lamprey. I don't know if you've ever seen the look of a lamprey, but it's a strange little blood-sucking creature, kind of like a leech. And so I used that as the kind of the overall design for it. Just made like a big circular hole for a mouth, a bunch of little teeth kind of wiggling around in there. And I wanted to make it look really meaty. The meat's kind of like a harder thing to do in 3D, so we thought we'd make it just like a real nasty, throbbing throat, like kind of pretty much as one as gross as I could. Like little kids are generally, they're so innocent, so when you warp them, and like in this case we had our eyes rot out a little bit and this mouth come up, it just gives you that unnerving feeling.
This is the very first concept art from the art department. Yeah, so art department, lamprey, then we came out with this still, then you went to the QuickTime, which was this.
It's amazing how much we try and keep it in the real and then go to the fantasy.
We sort of borrowed from evolution. We tried to apply real world evolution to a supernatural character. We said if it's got a flat face, the nose would have probably retracted into the face, the eyes would have protruded to protect the eyes. And then as we started to get into the lore of what a changeling is, you look at the little children, and for whatever reason the love of the parents and the mothers doesn't allow them to see the danger of these changelings that are feeding on them. So we sort of said maybe over time their eyes just shriveled up and disappeared. You're sort of saying that the changeling has evolved, but it has to look enough like a human that it's not going to change things. It has to look enough like a human that when we do our effect, it's still plausible.